Now, it might seem like we've been talking about this for a while, but in this video, I'm going to be talking about the changes that we're going to be seeing as cruising starts to resume again. Hi there, my name is Ilana from the website and blog lifewellcruise.com, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about how cruises are going to be resuming based on what we're seeing so far as some cruise ships have started to sail again. Now, in this video in particular, I'm going to be referencing a lot about the MSC cruise ships that have started to sail again starting on August 16th. And the reason for that is because they are large cruise ships and they are sailing to ports. So up until now, we've had some smaller cruise ships sailing, some more successfully than others. And we've also had the Mein Schiff cruise, which has sailed, but without any ports. But this is a little bit different. So let's get into that information and it'll give us a good idea of what we can expect. And I think on the most part, it is some good news, but there may be some things that, well, you or maybe some people won't like. Before I get started, I did want to mention that if you do like this video, if you find it helpful or informative or enjoyable in any way, then please do give the video a like. It really does help me and I appreciate it. And at the same time, please consider subscribing to the channel if you like cruise content like this. Here's some quick info that you should know about the MSC cruise ship that did start off this sailing. The MSC Grandiosa left Genoa, Italy on August 16th. Now, the only cruise passengers that were able to board were those that were from the Schengen countries. Now, I apologize if I mispronounced that, but these are 26 countries that include Italy and Greece and several others as well. They sailed, even though it's a large cruise ship, at about 70% capacity, and they do have some stops in several different port cities. Now, something that MSC did point out is that, of course, not only is it important for passengers and crew to be safe and healthy on the cruise ship and for safety measures to be taken, but as well because they are visiting port cities, that it was really important for those communities to feel safe with cruise passengers and cruise ships coming in and visiting as well. Now, while things might change, and even on this cruise line, they may learn what worked and what didn't work, it does give us a good idea of what we can expect when cruises resume in North America as well. So the first thing is COVID-19 testing. Yes, as passengers and crew embarked on embarkation day, there was COVID-19 testing for everybody as they got onto the ship. And this was, of course, in addition to temperature checks and the regular health screening that we can expect on cruise ships as we embark. So while rapid testing is not necessarily available everywhere just yet in North America, it's very possible that by the time we do sail again, that this will be available. And of course, that'll make things a lot easier for the cruise lines if that does happen. Secondly, this cruise ship was sailing at about a 70% capacity, which really allowed for social distancing. At the same time, passengers were given masks daily and asked to wear them where they could not social distance. So for instance, in the elevators. The third thing has to do with sanitation and cleanliness, and this includes cleaning the air. Yes, the cruise ship was using a hospital-grade disinfectant, and at the same time, they're using a UV light technology that actually cleans the air and removes 99.7% of the microbes in the air. Amazing. Now, while we don't know about the other cruise lines just yet, we have heard from some cruise lines that say that they're going to be changing their air filtration system or using different technologies to do something similar to this. The fourth thing that they've done on this cruise ship, and I think this will happen on other cruise ships as well, is they have really raised up the level of medical care on board the cruise ship. So they have trained medical staff that are able to deal with this virus should it occur. They have isolation staterooms. They have ways to treat people, to test people. So that is really something very, very good. Now, in the case of MSC, they're actually providing free care for this. I'm not sure if that will happen on North American sailings, but this is something really that is excellent on this cruise ship. As well, during the cruise, there will be continuous monitoring through temperature checks on the cruise ship, as well as when passengers and crew go out into port. So temperature checks and really an overall monitoring of health on board the cruise ship. Now, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing that it sounds like a bit of a boring cruise, but I will get to the activities and what the cruise ship is like, well, in a little bit of a later point. So I am still getting there, but I did want to make sure that we handled the health and safety aspect first. So you might be wondering, well, what happens when the cruise ship gets to the cruise ports? Can passengers get off on their own, or do they need to book cruise line excursions? So right now they actually do. They have to book cruise line excursions. That's the way it's working with MSC. And the reason for that, of course, is because at least what they are able to do is guarantee that the same standards that they have on the cruise ship in terms of cleanliness, in terms of sanitation, social distancing, that those same standards can be kept on the cruise excursions as well. And they are so strict about it that there was actually a family that was not allowed to return to the cruise ship when they did not follow those guidelines, and they actually deviated from the rules, and they seem to have left a cruise excursion during the time that they were in port. So very important. We follow the rules on these excursions, and MSC was really serious about it. Number 6. All right, this is something that I love, but if I'm being completely honest, I just can't see it happening in North America on North American cruise lines. And as a matter of fact, MSC has even said that this is only available right now for guests from the Schengen countries. And if I'm mispronouncing it again, I'm sorry. So what this is the MSC protection plan. And basically it sort of acts in a way as an insurance should somebody develop this virus during this cruise, or even after the cruise and maybe has gotten it on this cruise. And basically what it is that should something happen, MSC will pay for the medical care, and as well, let's say somebody tests positive for this virus, then what they will do, and is asymptomatic, for instance, is they will transport that person back home without putting anybody else in harm's way. And they will basically take care of everything. If there are medical costs associated with this after the cruise because somebody has caught this virus on the cruise ship as a result of this sailing, then as well, they will be covering this. But again, this is for guests from the Schengen countries. And so there are limitations to this. And MSC does point out that this is not a replacement for other types of travel insurance. Please let me know what you think. Do you think that I'm wrong about that? Can you see that happening on North American sailings, and would you like it? Let me know in the comments below. Number 7. Number 7 has to do with technology on cruise ships. And to be perfectly honest, this was something we were seeing already before this whole situation. But right now, technology is the cruise line's friend, so they are really going to be leaning into it. Now, on the MSC ship, the app that they are using is called MSC For Me. On other cruise lines, for instance, on Princess, they have the Ocean Medallion that will work well for this. And we even know that Royal Caribbean is using the Muster 2.0, which is an electronic version of the muster station. So really, rather than having the muster drill. So really, cruise lines are going to be using technology to have much less contact on the cruise ship. So for instance, with the app on MSC, there is a wristband that is complimentary, and that will allow guests to make purchases on the cruise ship without having to use a card, being able to basically make it even more seamlessly than before. Rather than having a paper menu, there will be a QR code to be able to use, similar to the Mein Schiff cruise, where you can see the menu in the dining room on your phone. You can of course see your daily activities on the app, the way you've been able to do on a lot of other cruise lines, but this is really going to be facilitating a little bit less of interaction and having to touch different things on the cruise ship. Something also that's very interesting is to reduce those lineups on cruises. You know, that often happen at guest services, is that the MSC Cruise Line is putting together a telephone line on the cruise ship where guests can call down to guest services. Now, we always were able to do that, but rather than having a long wait for that, there's really going to be a dedicated staff for that. So that's going to be really quite helpful for cruise passengers as well. So finally, the last thing to look at is, what will cruise ship life be like on board? So there are going to be all of the activities, the entertainment that is continuing to go on a cruise ship. The only thing is that because they have reduced capacity and at the same time they have guidelines to follow for social distancing, they are asking in many cases that reservations are being made. So that is something that might be a little bit different, especially if we're used to certain cruise ships where we could just walk into the theater at the time that we want. We will have to plan a little bit in advance, and this might take a little bit of getting used to. I'm imagining it won't continue for a very long time, but it will certainly be like that when cruising does start up at the beginning. Of course, as we know, we will not have self-serve buffets. We will have full service buffets, we will have dining room experiences, we will have bars, we will have restaurants, but with the tables spaced a little bit more apart. That might actually be a good thing, but let me know what you think of that, as well as all of the other guidelines, all of the other safety and health measures, and really what cruising is going to look like when it first starts sailing again. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Now, I hope that this video was helpful and gave you some information. If you did enjoy it, please do give it a thumbs up. I do appreciate it. And of course, please consider subscribing to the channel. Now, I am on Facebook and I am on Instagram, and I'd love to connect with you there at Life While Cruised. Happy future cruising.